The galaxy had a rule that nobody wrote down but everybody knew. Dragons don't talk. Not to anyone. Not ever. For millions of years, these massive creatures drifted through space like living mountains. Their scales shimmered with colors that didn't have names. Their wings could block out entire suns. They were older than most civilizations, more powerful than any weapon and completely silent. Every species tried. The Vrelians built golden temples in orbit, hoping dragons would land. They waited for 300 years. Nothing happened. The Korthans sang beautiful songs into the void for generations. The dragons flew past without even looking. The Zephyrites once parked their entire fleet in a dragon's path, begging for just one word. The dragons simply went around them like they were space dust. After a while, people stopped trying. Dragons became like stars or black holes, just part of the background. Beautiful. Dangerous. Untouchable. You could watch them, but you couldn't talk to them. That was just how things were. Then humans showed up. Nobody expected much from them. They were new, loud, and kind of messy. They didn't have the Vrelians' wealth or the Korthans' culture. They were just trying to find places to live, raising families on colony ships, doing their best to survive in a galaxy that had been running fine without them. The colony ship New Dawn limped into the Terra system on backup generators and hope. Inside were 2,000 people who'd left Earth behind, searching for something better. They found Terrace 4, a decent little planet with breathable air, clean water, and 3 dragons circling the mountains. The colony director read the reports and shrugged. "Dragons don't bother anyone," she said. "We don't bother them." Simple. So the humans built their colony in the valley. Prefab houses went up in neat rows. Solar panels covered every roof. Kids played in the streets while their parents worked maintenance or farmed vertical gardens. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. Tommy Hayes worked in maintenance, which meant he fixed everything that broke, and everything always broke. Water recyclers. Air filters. Gravity plates. He'd been doing it for 3 years, ever since his wife Lisa died from complications during cryosleep. The job kept him busy. Busy was good. Busy meant he didn't have time to fall apart. He had to stay strong for Lily anyway. His daughter was 6 months old, all big brown eyes and tiny grabbing hands. She'd never met her mother. Some days that thought hit Tommy so hard he couldn't breathe. But Lily would smile at him and he'd remember why he kept going. The other colonists helped when they could. Mrs. Patterson watched Lily during Tommy's shifts. Marcus from engineering built a better baby carrier. Rachel in hydroponics always saved the ripest fruits for her. It took a village, and this village actually showed up. Still, Tommy was tired. The kind of tired that sleep didn't fix. One evening he finished his shift early. A miracle. He picked up Lily from Mrs. Patterson's place and carried her to the observation deck. It was his favorite spot, a glass dome at the colony's edge where you could see the mountains and the sky. "Look at that lily bug," he whispered, pointing at the sunset. The sky burned orange and purple, colors Earth never had. "Pretty, right?" Lily gurgled and waved her hands. That's when the dragon appeared. It came gliding over the mountains like a ship, except ships didn't move like that. Ships didn't make you feel small in your soul. This dragon was crimson red, each scale catching the dying light. Its wings barely moved, riding air currents only it could feel. Tommy had seen dragons before, but never this close. Never where he could see the age in its eyes, the power in every movement. The creature was easily 200 feet long, maybe more. It flew past the observation deck's windows, so close Tommy could have touched the glass and imagined touching something infinite. Lily's eyes went wide. She pointed with her whole arm, her little face breaking into the biggest smile Tommy had ever seen. Then she laughed. That pure, delighted baby laugh that made everything better. And she said her very first word. "Uncle." Uncle. She was pointing right at the dragon. Tommy's heart stopped. "Lily, no, that's not." The dragon stopped flying. It just stopped. Hung there in the air like gravity forgot about it. Then, slowly, impossibly, it turned its massive head toward the observation deck. Toward Lily. Its eyes were gold, ancient, and they looked right at his daughter through the glass. Tommy couldn't move. Couldn't think. In millions of years, dragons had never acknowledged anyone. They didn't react. They didn't care. But this one was staring at his baby girl like she just said something nobody had ever said before. Lily laughed again and kept pointing. "Unco. Unco." The dragon hovered there for 30 seconds that felt like 30 years. Then finally, it spread its wings and flew away into the darkening sky. Tommy stood there holding his daughter, his hands shaking, wondering what the hell just happened. Tommy didn't sleep that night. He kept replaying it in his mind. The way the dragon stopped. The way it looked at Lily. That couldn't have been real, right? Dragons didn't do that. They didn't respond to anything. But he'd seen it. Everyone on the observation deck had seen it. By morning the whole colony knew. Mrs. Patterson knocked on his door before breakfast, eyes wide with excitement. Tommy, is it true? Did the dragon really stop for Lily? I think so, he said, bouncing Lily on his hip. She was chewing on her favorite toy, completely unbothered by the fact that she'd just done something impossible. Lord have mercy, Mrs. Patterson whispered. In all my years. The colony's message boards exploded. People posted shaky videos from their windows. Within hours, someone transmitted the footage off-world. By the next day the entire galaxy knew. A dragon had reacted to a human. The news spread like wildfire through every system, every station, every planet. Scientists who'd studied dragons their whole lives dropped everything. Diplomats from a dozen species scrambled to book transport to Terrace 4. Religious leaders called it a sign. Treasure hunters saw opportunity. Tommy watched the ships arrive on the scanners. One after another they came. Research vessels. Private yachts. Military cruisers. All of them wanting the same thing. His daughter. The first scientist showed up 3 days later. Dr. Venn, a Corathan with too many degrees and not enough social skills. He cornered Tommy outside the maintenance bay. Mr. Hayes, I must study your offspring, Venn said, his translator making him sound even more robotic than usual. This is the most significant xenological event in recorded history. I need tissue samples, brain scans, genetic sequencing. No, Tommy said flatly. You don't understand the importance. I understand you want to treat my daughter like a lab experiment. Answer still no. Venn wasn't the last. A Vrelian diplomat offered Tommy enough credits to buy his own planet if he'd bring Lily to their homeworld. A human corporate rep promised him a fortune for exclusive research rights. Some religious cult wanted to worship her as a prophet. Tommy said no to all of them. But they kept coming. They filled the colony's small hotel. They crowded the streets. They followed Tommy everywhere, cameras recording, voices demanding, everyone wanting a piece of something they didn't understand. Daddy tired, Lily said one evening, patting his face with her tiny hand. Yeah, baby girl, he whispered. Daddy's real tired. He'd stopped going to the observation deck. Too many people there now, all waiting to see if the dragon would return. Tommy kept Lily in their quarters, but it felt like hiding. Like they were prisoners in their own home. Then, on the 7th evening since that first moment, something changed. Tommy was making dinner, Lily in her high chair, when the emergency sirens wailed. His tablet lit up with a priority alert. Dragon approaching colony. All personnel to secure locations. His heart hammered. He picked up Lily and went to the window. The Crimson Dragon was flying straight toward the colony. Not past it. Not around it. Directly at it. People scattered in the streets below. Scientists ran for their equipment. Security activated defensive shields that everyone knew wouldn't stop a dragon if it wanted through. The dragon reached the colony's edge and stopped. It hovered there, massive wings beating slowly, its golden eyes scanning the buildings. Looking for something. Lily pressed her face against the window. Unco, she squealed, delighted. The dragon's head snapped toward their window. Even from 5 floors up, Tommy could feel its gaze lock onto them. Oh God, he breathed. The dragon flew closer. Closer. It positioned itself right outside their window, floating at eye level. This close, Tommy could see every scale, ancient and perfect. Could see the intelligence in those golden eyes. The creature was looking at Lily the way people look at something precious and unexpected. Lily laughed and slapped the glass with both hands. Unco. Unco. For a long moment nothing happened. The dragon just hovered there, watching her. Then, slowly, deliberately, it lowered its massive head in what could only be called a nod. A nod. Dragons didn't nod. They didn't acknowledge anything. But this one just nodded at his daughter like it understood exactly what she was saying. Tommy's tablet exploded with notifications. Every scanner in the colony had recorded it. The dragon had just communicated. Actually, intentionally communicated. The dragon lifted its head, gave Lily one last long look, then turned and flew back toward the mountains. But now everyone knew. This wasn't a fluke. This wasn't an accident. Something real was happening between this dragon and his daughter, and Tommy had no idea what to do about it. That night, he held Lily close and watched the mountains where the dragon had disappeared. What did you do, baby girl? He whispered. What did you do? Outside, more ships were arriving. The galaxy was coming to Terrace 4 and they all wanted answers. Tommy just wanted his daughter to be safe. The dragon returned the next evening. And the next. And the next. Every sunset, like clockwork, the crimson dragon would fly to their window. Lily would call it unco and laugh. The dragon would hover there, watching her with those ancient eyes, before flying away into the darkness. The galaxy watched and wondered. Tommy watched and worried. Because sooner or later, someone wasn't going to take no for an answer. Someone was going to try to take Lily, to study her, to use her, to unlock whatever secret let her do the impossible. And when that happened, Tommy was going to have to protect his daughter from the entire galaxy. He just hoped he'd be enough. 3 weeks passed. The dragon came every evening, and every evening Lily called to it like they were old friends. Tommy stopped trying to understand it. Some things just were. But the pressure kept building. More ships. More people. More demands. The colony director called Tommy into her office twice, sweating through her shirt, saying things like, galactic incidents, and political pressure, and maybe just one interview. Tommy kept saying no. He should have known it wouldn't be enough. It happened on a Tuesday night. Tommy had just put Lily to bed, singing her the same lullaby his mom used to sing to him. She was almost asleep, her tiny hand wrapped around his finger, when he heard the lock on his door override. His blood went cold. 3 figures in black tactical gear stepped into his quarters. No insignias. No identification. Professional kidnappers, the kind you hired when you had serious money and zero morals. Mr. Hayes, the leader said, voice distorted through a helmet filter. We're taking the child. Don't make this difficult. Tommy stepped in front of Lily's crib. Like hell you are. We're authorized to use force. Yeah. Tommy's hands shook, but he didn't move. So am I. He grabbed the wrench he kept by the door, the heavy one he used for stuck bolts. Not much of a weapon, but it was something. The leader sighed and nodded to the others. They rushed him. Tommy swung hard, caught one in the shoulder. The man grunted but didn't go down. Someone hit Tommy in the ribs. Pain exploded through his side. He swung again, connected with something, but there were too many of them. A fist caught his jaw. His vision blurred. Strong hands grabbed his arms, forced him back against the wall. Lily woke up screaming. No. Tommy fought harder, desperate, but they were trained and he was just a maintenance guy. One of them moved toward the crib. Don't you touch her. Tommy roared. The kidnapper reached for Lily, and the entire wall exploded. Not the door. Not the window. The whole reinforced hull just ripped open like paper, metal screaming, alarms shrieking. Emergency shields flickered and died. The kidnapper stumbled back, shouting in confusion. Through the massive hole in the wall, the crimson dragon's head emerged. It was enormous, too big for the space. Its head alone filled half the room, scales gleaming in the emergency lights. Those golden eyes blazed with something Tommy had never seen before. Fury. The dragon opened its mouth and roared. The sound wasn't just noise. It was rage given form, a primal thing that bypassed Tommy's ears and went straight to his bones. Said, made a mistake. The kidnappers froze. One dropped his weapon. Another made a small, terrified sound. The dragon's gaze fixed on them, and Tommy understood something in that moment. This creature was ancient. It had watched civilizations rise and fall. It had seen stars born and die. And right now it was absolutely done with these people. The kidnappers ran. They scrambled over each other trying to reach the door, their professional training forgotten, reduced to animals fleeing a predator. The dragon watched them go, then carefully, impossibly carefully for something so massive, withdrew its head from the hole in the wall. Lily had stopped crying. She stood in her crib, holding the bars, looking at the dragon with pure delight. Unco, she said, reaching toward it. The dragon's eyes softened. The rage drained away, replaced by something gentle. It moved closer to the crib, and Tommy's protective instinct screamed at him to grab Lily and run. But he didn't. Because the dragon lowered its head until it was level with the crib, moving with such delicate care that Tommy knew, absolutely knew, it would rather die than hurt her. Lily reached through the bars and touched the dragon's nose. Her whole hand fit on just one scale. Unco, she said again, softer this time. Happy. And then Tommy heard it. Not with his ears, but in his mind. A voice like mountains moving, ancient and warm and absolutely real. Little flame. Safe. Tommy's legs nearly gave out. The dragon had spoken. To him. In his head. Words that felt like they'd been placed there by something older than language itself. The dragon's eyes shifted to Tommy. This one protects the small one, it said, and Tommy understood it wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. Yes, Tommy managed. She's my daughter. I'd die for her. Good. The dragon's gaze held his. Then we understand each other, father of the small one. I am Carthenus. I've been silent for 60 million of your years. But the small one called me uncle, and I have accepted. Tommy's mind reeled. 60 million years. This creature was 60 million years old, and his daughter had somehow convinced it to talk. She just wanted to say hi, Tommy whispered. She didn't know. She knew what matters, Carthenus interrupted. She saw me and felt joy. She wanted to share that joy. No agenda. No greed. Just happiness that I existed. Do you understand how rare that is? How precious? Tommy looked at Lily, who was making nonsense sounds at the dragon, completely comfortable with the ancient cosmic being in her bedroom. She's special, Tommy said. She is young, Carthenus corrected. Young and unafraid and kind. That is what your species does well, human. You feel things fully. You care recklessly. It makes you vulnerable but also remarkable. The dragon pulled back slightly. Others will come for her. More of them. More dangerous. They will want to understand, to study, to use. I will not allow it. You're going to protect her? Tommy asked. Those golden eyes blazed. I am her uncle. She claimed me and I have accepted the honor. Anyone who threatens the small one threatens me. With that, Carthenus withdrew from the destroyed wall, spreading his wings. Sleep, little flame, he said, his voice in both their minds. Your uncle watches. Then he was gone, leaving Tommy standing in a room missing a wall, holding a wrench, trying to process what just happened. Lily yawned and lay back down in her crib, like having a dragon crash through the wall was perfectly normal. Unco, she mumbled, already half asleep. Tommy sank to the floor and started laughing. He couldn't help it. His daughter had adopted a 60-million-year-old dragon. The dragon had accepted. And now the most powerful being in known space was their family. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The next morning, Tommy woke up to find Carthenus perched on the mountain ridge overlooking the colony. Just sitting there like an enormous, terrifying gargoyle. Making a statement. The message was clear. Touch the child, answer to me. The kidnapping attempt stopped immediately. Tommy had maintenance crews patch the wall while Carthenus watched from the mountains. The dragon didn't leave. Not that day, not the next. He stayed visible, a constant reminder that Lily had the galaxy's most powerful babysitter. After a week, Carthenus started talking to the colonists. Not often. Dragons didn't waste words. But when someone asked a direct question, sometimes he'd answer. Why now? Dr. Chin from the colony's research team asked, standing at a respectful distance. Why speak after all this time? Carthenus was silent for so long that Chin thought he wouldn't answer. Then, we stopped speaking because words became weapons. Every species that learned our language used it to beg, demand, manipulate. They wanted power, knowledge, favors. They saw us as tools, not beings. So we chose silence. But Lily changed that? Chin pressed. The small one wanted nothing from me, Carthenus said, his mental voice carrying to everyone nearby. She saw me and felt joy. Pure, simple joy. She wished to share it. That is all. No transaction. No angle. Just happiness that I existed in her world. Tommy listened from his porch, Lily playing with blocks at his feet. She built a tower and was very proud of it. Your daughter did something we thought impossible, Mrs. Patterson said, sitting beside him. She made a friend nobody could make. She's good at that, Tommy said, watching Lily stack another block. She doesn't see reasons not to love people. Or dragons. Carthenus began visiting every evening, not just watching through windows but landing in the colony's central square. Kids would gather, nervous at first, then braver. He'd answer their questions in that patient, ancient way of his. How old are you? A boy named Peter asked. I witnessed your son's birth, Carthenus replied. What do you eat? Starlight and time. Tommy wasn't sure if that was literal or poetic, but it sounded cool either way. One evening, Tommy brought Lily to the square. She toddled toward Carthenus on unsteady legs, fell on her bottom, got back up, kept going. The dragon lowered his massive head to her level. Unco. Lily grabbed his nose with both hands. Little flame, Carthenus rumbled, amused. You grow stronger. She started walking last week, Tommy said. Won't stop now. Humans rarely do, Carthenus observed. It is one of your more interesting traits. Over the following weeks, Tommy learned things about dragons he never imagined. Carthenus explained how they experience time differently, watching centuries pass like humans watch seasons change. How they see emotions as colors, patterns of light that surround living beings. "What color am I?" Tommy asked one night. "Deep blue threaded with gold," Carthenus said. "Love and exhaustion woven together. You burn yourself as fuel for the small one. It is very human." "Is that bad?" "No. Just very human." Carthenus told him about the other species they'd watched. The Vrelians built empires on calculation and control. The Korthans valued tradition above all else. The Zephyrites pursued knowledge with cold precision. "And humans?" Tommy asked. "Humans feel everything like it's the first and last time," Carthenus said. "You love recklessly. You grieve deeply. You hope against logic. You care about things that cannot possibly matter in the grand scope of the universe, and yet you care anyway. It makes you chaotic, frustrating, and utterly fascinating." "You saying we're weird?" "I am saying you are very, very alive." More dragons started appearing. First one, then two, then five. They'd circle the colony, curious about the humans who'd somehow reached the species no one could reach. Carthenus introduced them with names that sounded like thunder and wind chimes. Lily called them all Unco, or Auntie. The dragons accepted the titles with what Tommy swore was amusement. But not everyone was happy about humanity's new friends. The Vrelian sovereignty watched from their distant systems, their leaders meeting in golden chambers, discussing problems and solutions. Humans were nobodies. Newcomers. They had no right to dragon attention, dragon protection, dragon friendship. It was an advantage the Vrelians couldn't allow. Ambassador Vexthor addressed the Sovereignty Council, his voice cold and measured. "The humans have gained access to beings who could destroy fleets with a thought. This cannot stand. If we allow it, they'll dominate the galaxy within a generation." "What do you propose?" another council member asked. "Simple," Vexthor said. "Remove the source. The child is the connection. No child, no bond. No bond, no advantage." The dragons would retaliate. Perhaps. But dragons have never cared about galactic politics before. Would they really start a war over one human infant? I doubt it. And if we're wrong? Vexthor smiled coldly. "We have numbers. They have mystery. Mystery dies in the face of overwhelming force." The council voted. It wasn't even close. Back on Terrace 4, Tommy had no idea his daughter had just been marked for death by one of the galaxy's major powers. He was too busy watching Lily try to teach Carthenus peekaboo. "Unco hide," she demanded, covering her eyes. "I am 200 feet long," Carthenus noted. "Hiding is impractical." "Hide." The ancient cosmic being sighed and tucked his head under one wing. Lily uncovered her eyes. "Where Unco go?" "I remain here, small one." "There he is." Lily squealed with delight. Tommy laughed. His daughter had the most powerful being in known space playing children's games, and somehow that felt exactly right. But in the distance, ships were gathering. The Vrelian fleet was coming, carrying weapons and soldiers and the cold certainty that they were doing what needed to be done. They didn't understand what they were really threatening. They didn't understand that Carthenus hadn't just accepted the title of uncle as a formality. He meant it. And nobody threatened his family. The warning came at dawn. Colony sensors picked up the Vrelian fleet dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge. 40 warships. Enough firepower to crack a planet. Tommy was feeding Lily breakfast when the colony director's voice came over every speaker. "All residents to shelters. This is not a drill. Vrelian military vessels are approaching." Lily looked up from her bowl, milk on her face. "Daddy scared?" Tommy's hands shook as he wiped her chin. "Yeah, baby girl. Daddy's scared." But he picked her up anyway and headed not to the shelters but to the central square. If they were coming for his daughter, he wasn't going to hide. Half the colony had the same idea. People gathered in small groups, parents holding children, neighbors standing together. Nobody spoke much. What was there to say? The Vrelian fleet commander's face appeared on every screen in the colony. Ambassador Vexthor, cold-eyed and certain. "Humans of Terrace 4. We have no quarrel with you. Surrender the child called Lily Hayes for galactic study, and we will depart peacefully. Refuse and we will take her by force. You have 1 hour." The transmission cut out. Tommy held Lily tighter. Around him, people started arguing. Some said give her up, save the colony. Others said fight. Mrs. Patterson stood beside Tommy, her old hand on his shoulder. "Whatever you choose, we're with you." Tommy looked down at his daughter. She was playing with his collar, oblivious to the warships overhead. Just a baby. Just his baby girl who'd wanted to make friends with a dragon. He grabbed a transmitter from a nearby guard and set it to broadcast. "To the fleet. To the galaxy. To everyone listening. My name is Tommy Hayes, he said, voice steady despite everything. Lily is my daughter. She's 16 months old. Her favorite food is applesauce. She's learning to say please and thank you. She laughs when I make funny faces. And yeah, a dragon talks to her. You know why? He paused, looking at Lily. Because she was happy to see him. That's it. She didn't want anything. Didn't need anything. She just saw something beautiful and wanted to share her joy. If that terrifies you, if a baby being kind scares you so much you'd bring a fleet to take her, then you've already lost. You can destroy us, Tommy continued. You've got the ships, the weapons. We're just maintenance workers and farmers and teachers trying to make a life out here. But you'll never understand what you're really afraid of. You're not scared of dragons talking. You're scared that humans became friends with them by doing the one thing you can't do. We cared. We loved. We reached out expecting nothing back. He looked up at the sky where the fleet waited. So come and take her if that's who you are. But know that you're not protecting the galaxy. You're just proving you never deserved what she offered in the first place. Tommy cut the transmission and held his daughter close, waiting for the end. Instead, the sky darkened. Dragons appeared. Not just Carthenus but dozens of them. They materialized around the Vrelian fleet like they'd always been there, just waiting. Massive forms that made the warships look like toys. Every color imaginable, scales gleaming in the starlight, wings spread wide enough to eclipse moons. Carthenus positioned himself directly in front of the flagship, his mental voice broadcasting to every ship. I am Carthenus. I have watched your species for 3 million years, Vrelian. I have seen your empires rise. I have watched you conquer and calculate and scheme. Do you know what I saw? Nothing worth speaking to. The fleet didn't move. Couldn't move. 40 warships surrounded by ancient beings who'd existed before their civilization had words. For 60 million years, Carthenus continued, we watched civilizations build themselves on power, on logic, on control. We saw nothing that moved us. Nothing that made silence seem like a loss. Then this small one, this child barely aware of her own existence, saw me and felt joy. Not greed. Not fear. Not calculation. Joy. She wanted nothing from me except to share her happiness that I existed. Another dragon spoke, her voice like summer storms. Your species measures worth in leverage and advantage. Hers measures it in connection and care. You hoard power, a third added, ancient and patient. They share wonder. Carthenus moved closer to the flagship, close enough that Vexthor could see every detail of scales older than his entire genetic line. That is why we speak to them, Vrelian. That is why we will protect them. Not because they are strong. Not because they are clever. Because when they saw beings beyond their understanding, their first instinct was kindness. You want to take the small one? Carthenus's voice dropped, dangerous and absolute. You will have to go through her uncles and aunties first. All of us. We who have toppled stars and watched galaxies spin. We who have never in all of history gone to war. Are you certain you wish to be the first to change that? Silence filled the void. Then, slowly, the Vrelian fleet powered down weapons, turned, and jumped back into hyperspace without another word. The dragons remained for a moment, making sure the threat was gone. Then one by one they departed. All except Carthenus. He descended to the square where Tommy stood with Lily. The colonists made room, still stunned by what they'd witnessed. Unco. Lily squirmed in Tommy's arms, reaching for the dragon. Carthenus lowered his head to her level. Little flame. Safe now. Tommy's knees finally gave out. He sank to the ground, Lily in his lap, and started crying. Relief. Terror. Gratitude. Everything at once. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you. You are her father, Carthenus said gently. You would have fought 40 ships with your bare hands. I did nothing you would not have done. I simply had better tools. Mrs. Patterson knelt beside Tommy, tears on her cheeks. Other colonists gathered close. Peter, the kid who always asked questions, looked up at Carthenus with wide eyes. Are you really going to protect us? The boy asked. The small one called me uncle, Carthenus said. And through her, you are family. Dragons do not abandon family. News spread across the galaxy faster than light. Humanity, the newcomer species, had done the impossible. Not through conquest or cunning but through a child's simple joy. The Vrelian sovereignty's defeat wasn't military, it was philosophical. They'd proven themselves exactly what the dragons always thought, powerful but not worth speaking to. Months passed. Lily grew. She took her first real steps holding onto Carthenus's claw. Learned to count by counting dragon scales. Her bedtime stories were about stars and time and the way the universe looked from ancient eyes. Other human colonies reported dragon sightings, then conversations, then friendships. It seemed once one dragon broke the silence, others were ready to try. All because they'd seen what Carthenus saw, a species that led with their hearts. Tommy watched his daughter play in the square one evening, 6 dragons perched on the surrounding mountains. Lily was teaching them a clapping game, and they were trying their best with claws that could crush starships. "You changed everything, Lilybug," Tommy said softly. She looked up at him and smiled. "Love unco." "Yeah," Tommy said, picking her up. "You do." And that made all the difference. In the sky, stars shone bright. Dragons flew in patterns like living constellations. And that was so much better.